WNSB is what it spells on your phone. If you so desire, want to be a part of the show, give us a call. There are some things that we want to kind of start discussing. We want to pick up on the conversation that we had.
Yes.
And that was about, how do we get prepared to care for our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents, maybe our wives or husbands or whoever in our lives, as they are making the transition. The doctors have been in touch with you. Your mother, your father has been in hospice care, and their symptoms, their scenarios not improving, and they give you that, hey, it's going to be, time is coming. Maybe it's a year, or maybe it's 6 months, or maybe it's very soon, 3 months or a month. How do you start to prepare for that? And what kinds of things should you be considering? Now, we discussed in passing 2 weeks ago the purpose of a living will. And so what I want to do for a second is kind of talk about what a living will is, or what it's designed to do, and then kind of open up around the living will concept, as well as all the other services that we have to start to consider when it's time for us to lay our loved ones to rest or prepare for our own unfortunate demise.
It's a dynamic and important subject matter, Maynard, and I'm grateful that you're bringing it up. And good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's a personal, subject matter for me. My parents in particular, above 70, still, pretty healthy and strong, but have recently gone through some medical situations, even, as much as having to go to the ER. So, it's one thing to be in the hospital knowing you're the blood. It's another thing when the medical professionals come and ask you certain questions, and because you don't have the legal authority to speak on those things, end of life care, power of attorney, what kind of care your loved ones would like to have in the end of post surgery, post life-saving items. I don't know all of the terminology medically, but these things, and some in the legal field are also saying, going through, I want to say it's probate. Shout out to all those Greeks as well. It's a different little probate that you're going through when they have to discuss your family's affairs. So yes, Maynard, you are doing the community such a solid by even having this discussion, because a ton of folk, even those in different fields, responsible fields, six-figure salary annual fields, they don't have a living will, which means that the state gets to take your business, or let me get my language right, not take, but possibly acquire if your affairs aren't in order, your hard work, your endeavors, your dreams. I mean, for your family, when you, as you so eloquently stated, we're putting them and having them for transition and doing those things as they were their wishes. When you have someone outside of your blood and your family making decisions, when you're in the hospital and your folks there going through and laboring, and you got people looking at you and asking you, what is your relation? And you're like, I've been looking at the people since I've been able to function. What is my relation? So we can't be personal about it anymore. We got to get our ducks in a row.
That's right. So let's go over it now. We're using, or at least I'm using right now for the sake of argument, LegalZoom, LegalZoom.com as a source. Certainly it may not qualify as the greatest legal website on the face of the planet or the greatest legal source, but this is a source that we're using. I would hope that anyone who's listening and wanted to compare notes would seek out a myriad of sources to try to help them make their own decisions. But people often think of writing a living will as something that you do when you're sick, something that you do when the end is near, that you should have a living will. But in fact, that's probably not the best way to pursue this. Sickness can befall you in an instant.
Preach.
A lot of people couldn't wait, or should not have waited to write their living will.
Yes.
But they got COVID and it went fast for them, or they were in a car accident and they
on vacation.
Right. and then they were afflicted with illness or ailment of some sort that was essentially mortal. They were going to it was going to be fatal. But there's this period of time that they were, lingering, that their body had not yet passed on. So unexpected injury or disease can strike at any time. You should learn more about legal living wills by consulting an attorney or some resource that you find to be valuable and credible. The purpose of a living will is used to instruct care providers in the event that you can no longer make decisions for yourself. It can also shield your loved ones from having to make difficult choices about your care, and it reduces the chances of confusion or arguments over what's in your best interest. And I've seen this happen very recently. Friends of mine, my next door neighbors back home, their mother had been dealing with COPD and other issues related to her health. She had oxygen for years. I mean, I would probably say 10 years, maybe or more. And she had 3 children. Wow. All of which are older than me by her youngest son, he and I went to high school together, but he was still maybe 2 years or 3 years older than me. And her oldest child, her daughter, is, I don't know, maybe 7 years or so older than me. But the 2 older siblings were operating and moving in one direction, and the younger sibling was doing something different. And it, when I heard about their mother's passing, out of respect, I reached out to the family. I wasn't going to be able to get home. My mother, who still lives next door to them, she went to the funeral, and she
certainly.
But I wanted to reach out of respect, and as I reached out to each individual one of them, they each had a different story to tell about one of them. They each were upset about what this one did or what that one did, and that I said, well, I was, because
it's almost like stuff doesn't bubble until certain things happen.
Right. I said, I don't have brother so-and-so's phone number. Would you give it to me? I don't know why you want to talk to him.
Wow.
He did this, that, and the other. I can't believe he would do this. And,
preaching now, Maynard, stuff comes, it rises to the top when we are, we're good and when things of comfort. Because I want you back in that lane where you were, but it's always good when everything is on cruise control. But when we reach turbulence.
Right.
Keep going, brother. You on it.
So, you as a parent, you as a husband, and then obviously women who are listening, you as a wife, you as a brother or a sister to someone, if you want to, kind of help your family avoid confusion and avoid arguments and reduce stress and tension, a living will may be a really good instrument that you should invest in.
And Maynard, now this is the tough love part that myself, maintaining full transparency to our constituency out there. Thank you all again for tuning in. That conversation, that discussion to your parents who have always nurtured, poured into, garnered all of your protection and provided everything that they could until we were able to, get out in the world and do our thing. When you have that discussion with your folk, be prepared for that stiff jab back that might, make a little trickle of, come out your nose, because your parents, that conversation, I ain't planning to go nowhere right now. My affairs is good. I've been paying all these bills. What is it to you now about what's going on? I'm just telling y'all.
That could possibly be.
It is an arduous journey making sure. But let me say this also. I've seen friends where that transition happened. I've watched when folk looked and saw to see if this company would be available based on, mom or dad's wishes to do this particular service, and the folk on the other line say, oh, it's already been taken care of. Which service at which burial, which cemetery, where that's already been arranged. So sometimes the prudence on the front end is that you don't have. Would have loved to not have your family who's already enduring, not have to figure out your affairs too.
Right. Right. So here are some things that you should consider.
And we ain't trying to be morbid, y'all. We just, we're doing real life content on this show. This is barbershop talk for black men, men of color, men in general. But yeah, we're just having conversations in a safe space.
Here's some things to consider, which you should do. As if you know that you've been afflicted with something that will ultimately be fatal. Your doctor has come to you and said, hey, your stage 4 cancer is inoperable, or whatever that may be, and you have this length of time. Obviously, you want to speak with your doctor about what procedures and treatment and options exist for you to help give you the palliative care or comfort, if you will, in the meantime. And then you want to consider the kind of care that you in fact want, right? If for some reason this particular care that the doctor is recommending is going to be necessarily expensive or burdensome on family members, that may be something that you're not interested in. You may be like my mother is like, I don't care, take me to the doctor. Whatever the doctor say do, let's do it.
Hey, and keep me alive, resuscitate.
Right.
Hey, them little intricacies, man.
Right.
Those little things, Mama said, I don't care what they got to do. If the power and the light start dimming, keep me alive in this joint.
Right. So you have to make those decisions. What does that mean for you and the family? Then you need to go back and you need to gather your family together and be quite clear with them as a unit. This is what I want. I want to be cremated.
Y'all hear this?
I want to be resuscitated, or I do not want to be resuscitated. And that will be family and friends that are, that may be a part of the decision-making process. But you need to make certain that they understand what your wants, needs are.
And Maynard, this is the realest thing of this whole segment. The time to have that conversation was yesterday, y'all.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I mean, it's time to, at the next family gathering or the time that y'all out. I mean, I know you ain't trying to be the Debbie or dad downer, but here's the thing. The worst thing that I've been told from those that have gone and experienced it when they've lost parents and loved ones and gone on and had estates and other finances. Hey, look, y'all, some of y'all that got land and different things that quote fingers should be coming your way based on love and all that.
Right.
You better have your stuff in order. I'm telling you, because you don't want them other people trying to decide for you.
Right. Some other pieces that you need to consider is who is it that should be making the decisions for you. I'm the oldest of the 2 siblings. My younger sister, she's 10 years younger than me. But my sister is also an attorney.
Oh.
And so,
what a valuable asset in the family.
In my opinion, while I think it's normal that the eldest sibling typically kind of makes these kinds of decisions.
Sure.
In this scenario for she and I certainly defer to her.
I like it.
She's been practicing law for it'll be 20 years soon.
Yeah.
And
you don't tell a young pilot how to fly the plane when you're on the flight,
Right. I've never flown.
Hey,
right.
There it is.
So, have those decisions. You have 3 or 4 siblings, or you have that one, play cousin that, takes care of mom because you live in another place and, whatever. Or one of my other neighbors, one of the granddaughters lived in the house with the grandmother until her passing. However, she lived in the house with the grandmother until her passing because it was, it made for good affordability. Like she didn't have to pay, and grandmother didn't have to have a caretaker.
I was gonna say the live-in nurse. You read my mind. I was thinking, you cut the live-in nurse out of there. You saved a buck or two.
That doesn't negate the fact that she continued. The grandmother had sons and daughters who are her true next of kin, and they had more say in the matter of how mom's or grandmom's care would be.
Yes.
Than this young lady. But fortunately, in many ways, they were able to kind of understand who's going to do what have you. Because that live-in nurse, that's a relative, often feels more connected in certain ways because they are taking care of business.
And especially because the family is communicating with them. The family communication, we know this dynamic, and that living nurse so intricate because we know, I've witnessed it with family before. I know you have. That living nurse in a relationship with the immediate family who handles all of the affairs is essential.
Just to remind you, we're talking about, kind of end of life care right now. What kinds of things should you plan, or should you help your parents or other relatives plan as, we, lead to our ultimate demise in death, maybe due to some kind of illness or
Talk about
just
it,
that
man.
time.
Yeah.
If you have questions that you would like to ask, or information that you would like to share with us and be a part of this conversation, 757-823-9672. We'd love to have you participate. Now, you've moved forward, you've gotten whatever legal advice that you needed to get. Maybe you've spoken with an attorney or a paralegal. You may have just purchased a kit, at, they have these kits online available at a place like LegalZoom or whatever. Maybe you purchased
It's good information too, man. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. You may utilize prepaid legal as a source, but you've gotten whatever legal advice and you're on your way. So you certainly want that to happen. Now it's time to file whatever your decisions are into a legal document, essentially called a will or living will, and where the will itself, in general, kind of deals with things that happen after you've passed.
Right.
The living will kind of deals with things again when you can no longer make decisions for yourself, but you're still alive.
Wow, differentiate. Dive in on them, Maynard.
So now it's time to file copies of these documents with important parties. Your doctor should have this. The hospital should have that on file. You may want to file this with whoever happens to have power of attorney for you.
Okay.
Your immediate family members. You very well may want to keep a copy in a safe deposit box, as well as maybe even with your own
essential paperwork at home for fires and hurricanes and all of that.
Right. And you may very well want to file this with your insurance company, your health insurance company.
Wow.
So that all parties are privy to what should be there, and what should be expected. So there are a handful of things that you might want to talk about with your doctor: breathing assistance, supplemental feeding, medical treatments, and other information like: are you an organ donor? What will you donate? What won't you donate? Are you even interested in donating? And then it moves on to other posthumous decisions after your death. Should an autopsy be performed, cremation, burial, and other things. So, we got a handful of minutes left.
Okay.
This time goes quick.
Hey man, I tell you, but it's always good being in the space with the unks,
Right. And so we want to just kind of wrap up on this. Here are some things to consider. While a living will certainly is what you have identified and outlined as your wishes, a living will can, however, be broken. A living will can be broken in following circumstances and instances. These may vary by state or by municipality, but the authority of a healthcare proxy. For instance, you have given somebody power of attorney or healthcare proxy over your life, and that person has read the living will and has discovered that there is a treatment or drug that, while you are in this maybe a vegetated or coma state,
right,
that this treatment is going to work and bring you back, quite possibly.
Okay. That's an important caveat.
That's an important thing. So they could go against your wishes.
See that? Y'all hear that?
That's a possibility. Also, if your living will is deemed invalid, your state may consider your living will invalid for a number of reasons if you don't have the proper witnesses, for instance. If your mental state was questionable at the time that your living will was executed.
That's important.
If a court influenced you if a court finds that fraud influenced your living will, for instance, there is a case that I am aware of a daughter knowing that mom's estate was worth X, had continued to influence her mother to.
I mentioned the state earlier, didn't I? I mean, wow.
She wanted her to write the living will this way that would prevent mom from, getting. Made certain that mom had to do not resuscitate. Made certain that mom did not have any other kinds of breathing assistance or supplemental feeding, and that was written into her will. And
wow.
In part because the woman was told by her daughter that, there's no help for you, mom.
Wow.
I don't want you to suffer.
And when we say, and I'm glad you said that piece, that portion there, because I know to some, and I respect that, to be able to have this conversation so cavalier, so unassuming. It's not that it doesn't touch. It's not that we're numb to it. And no, it's not a paper chase. In this example this latter example that Maynard gave, where this person clearly was about trying to, calculate how they could maximize on fraud. That's a whole different situation. What we're about is wanting to make sure that we are prepared as a people, just like others are when their loved ones transition and others don't have to discuss their affairs. That there's always extremes in every situation. So to any of those that, might be listening and cringing and thinking, man, how could they be talking about this kind of stuff, talking about death, man. I ain't thinking about that. My family ain't going away. My mama, daddy, my aunties, my grandma, everybody here, I deal with that when it happened. I respect that. Until them people come in there and tell you this is how we're going to do it, and you looking at them like, oh, no, you ain't. These my people. And they telling you, well, based on we can't get emotional and say what ain't going to happen when we ain't legally put ourselves in an assertive position. That's all I'm saying.
Well, as we wrap up, we want to remind you that neither of us are authorities in this space.
Preach.
We used a LegalZoom.com as a resource for this discussion.
Yes.
If you have interest in discussing a living will or discussing a will or advance directive,
yes,
there are professionals out there. We would recommend that you seek out the legal advice from a licensed attorney or a professional in this space. But we also urge you to seek it out, period.
Get
right?
that information, y'all.
There is one thing I know for certain. I'm not a professional in many areas, but I do know that you can't get out of life alive.
Okay.
We all will meet our maker at some point. And so being prepared and preparing our families to kind of alleviate some burden on those folks, that's important.
Yes.
I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but we hope that you join us.
This was nice.
Terrell, you got some other things you want to say before we go?
You know what? Just grateful for this opportunity, Maynard. Thank you for allowing me to share the airwaves of Hot 91.1 WNSB, Norfolk State University. I appreciate you. Thank you for just being, just a vessel, transparent, having a safe space for black men to talk about a myriad of issues. This is Barbershop Talk for Men of Color. We're going to talk about health, prostate, relationships, the way that we are, the accountability, parenting, fatherhood, motherhood. We as long as Maynard, the boss here, allows for us to be able to, this is going to be a lane where black men get to talk about all those things that either aren't discussed or need to be discussed. And we want you to call in and check with us.
One last thing. Do white men have barbershop talk? Do they talk about things in their barbershops?
You know what? I'm sure they do. It's probably more aligned with business acquisition, maybe stocks, maybe. Hey, here's the thing we can say. Let me not assume. I'm sure they do, but I'm sure the dialogue is different because the two genres face different things that in that safe space of the barbershop that we discuss. I'm sure they do vent and talk about things, but their plight is different from the brothers in the barbershop. Now, I'm gonna leave that where it is.
All right. Well, look, if the white dudes want to call in and let
yes,
us know
sir.
what y'all talking about.
Our white brothers, please let us know. Oh,
right.
Because look, man, real caveat, a lot of white brothers come in there and get cut in the black barbershops.
Right.
Tons of them.
That's right.
Low phase.
Until next week, man, we hope you have a phenomenal
yes.
Remainder of your Sunday.
Yes.
Great week. We'll see you next week where we'll be discussing who knows what. But we'll have a conversation right here. Up next, my man Aronson Gavin and the homies with In Your City. Their podcast starts right now. We're Hot 91. We're the soul of VA.